Right. So this might genuinely be one of the last times we do a video on this. This is because Snow White has officially left theaters now. It
Yay!
basically left theaters anyway, but they were clinging on. There was like 300 theaters or something like that, like something minuscule. And it's always interesting. The main reason why I wanted to cover this today is because it's always interesting to have the likes of Forbes validate the things that we say. Because of course, we say these things and we're considered fringe, aren't we? We're considered, those random weirdos online espousing absolute bollocks. They're just toxic men and all this other kind of crap, right? So when Forbes comes out and says it, you don't need the validation, obviously, but it is interesting when they begin to validate the same things that people have said, because it just goes to show that it's just too bad. You can't ignore it. Like it's too big of an issue. You have to talk about it. So Disney Snow White ends theatre run. How much did it lose? Because this is the thing. It's not a case of did it lose money. It's a case of, well, how badly did it lose money? And that's the thing, right? And this article is quite good. So I think what's fascinating about this is it does clarify that, I mean, this was like 3 years in development. 3 years. 3 years. And it was as bad as it was. Like, it's just terrible. Absolutely terrible. So basically, this budget isn't right, by the way. We'll have more than this, which will be filed in taxes. But we haven't had the updated tax filings yet. But at the last point, this movie was $269.4 million. Did I make you watch this, Bo?
Yes.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
I remember
you did.
being really angry about it as well.
I'm absolutely not bitter about it. No, it
But I
was
think anyone
the
that
chat
watched...
wanted to as well, didn't they? The chat.
Yeah,
I did
true.
it for the chat.
That is true. But anyone that watched this movie, you watch it and you go, how the hell did it cost $269.4 million? Like, honestly, how? Where was that? And that was before marketing, right? Before marketing. And this article notes that Deadline, have come out and basically discussed this and said that in terms of how much it would have cost. So post-mortem analysis by Deadline on March 31st, a mere 10 days after Snow White's release in theaters. So they were like, yeah, this is going to bomb straight away, basically, was what Deadline said. The Hollywood Trade said, in terms of the forecasting, it would finish its worldwide box office gross at 225 million. It didn't. It ended at like 205.4 million or something like that, which is just woeful. So they say, operating from that number, Deadline projected the film would eventually clear 295 million in revenues. I don't know how, because they say it would have $101 million in global film rentals. There is no way it's getting that. I do not see that at all. $62 million in worldwide home entertainment. I don't know how they're calculating that. I don't know what that would equate to be honest. Outside of film rentals, I'd imagine that's like, maybe they're factoring in Disney Plus subscriptions in there. I don't know. $130 million in streaming and TV revenues. I guess that's the Disney Plus, and maybe selling it elsewhere, but then that's maybe the global film rentals. I don't understand how they're factoring these things in. It's bizarre. $2 million from merchandise. I don't think anyone is interested in Rachel Zegler's mug being on a mug, for instance. But then they say this about the film's expenses. Deadline estimated the film's expenses were $410 million for the production. So, in addition to the film's nearly $270 million price tag, Deadline noted that Disney would have spent $111 million on global marketing costs, which is probably accurate. They had a condensed down marketing campaign for this. So, $111 million does sound about right, I think. $29 million in residuals and other expenses. That's like paying producers and actors and all this other kind of crap. So, Deadline concluded that Disney would lose $115 million on Snow White. However, since the March 31st analysis was based on a projection of 225 million worldwide, and the worldwide tally is 205.5, they're going to lose even more. And that's even if they're getting these numbers right in terms of what they're going to make. Bare minimum is like $125 million lost. Bare minimum. And that's being super conservative, super nice about it, super light on their estimations. This is probably lost easily $200+ million, maybe 250. Like, that's staggeringly high, and just so incredibly comical when the like Forbes takes note and does an article on it. Coincidentally enough, from a Deadline article, but there you go. I just thought we'd talk about it because it just goes to show the absolute state of Disney. Few things there, I guess. Is Disney like, how out of touch can you be that you thought people want to watch this shit? And it was dead from its inception point. I mean, you hired a bloody Latina for it. Like, that's not Snow White. Why did you do that? It's dumb. The whole thing was just dumb from its inception point. It was never going to make money. So there you go. I just thought we'd talk about it. Over to you.
This film, yeah, I'll go ahead. This film is as you pointed out, this film was never going to perform. They marketed this in the most neo-Marxist way possible. They lost the audience before it even began shooting. And then she began shooting her mouth off in probably the worst way, which ever since she was in West Side Story and it failed, she's been on a constant fail train, including in your West End in London, with her musical, which we haven't talked about yet. Probably we'll do that on Thursday. But this Snow White thing lost well more than 115 million. I'm thinking upward of 200 million. And I don't think anybody will be able to argue with that, because by the time we see the actual budgetary spend on this film, what the actual bottom rock figure was, that so they could collect the maximum amount of your tax revenue. Thank you very much. So that they could make this garbage. This will have lost over 200 million. She was never the right casting. It was always going to be a Latina girl, according to the people from many articles way back. And so they were always trying to target and own the chuds. You cannot make a profit anymore, especially in the US or anywhere internationally now. Have you guys noticed this trend? If you try to own the chuds, because the world isn't interested in playing politics anymore. They're all turning their back on the globalist bologna sausage right now. And you're seeing that in real time as the populist movement in all the Western countries starts to take the reins, let's say. Regardless, you have to actually make something that people will feel nostalgic for. Where's the nostalgia here? You aren't having human dwarves. They're not live action. This is supposed to be a live action, honorable retelling of the original story by Walt Disney. It isn't. It wasn't. It was never going to be. And she and her compatriot, believe it or not, Gal Gadot is culpable here as well. But they basically went out and touted the fact that she's not going to be rescued by the prince. There's not really a love story here. I mean, this could not have been farther away from the original nostalgic tale, the classic tale. There's a reason things are classic and that we have nostalgia for them. And this was nowhere near it. And so you doomed this film from the very beginning, and you just kept letting her and everybody around her repel the audience. The new marketing is repel the audience. And I think that is something that a lot of these advertising agencies are going to have to figure out how to quickly reverse, because their thoughts around anti-marketing and outrage marketing aren't productive. And the argument could be they never really were. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm still thinking this is 200 million or more in the hole. What do you think there, Paul?
For 250 million, you could design and build 2 lunar landers. For the overall budget of well over 400 million, you could send a probe to Titan. You could send a probe to Europa and possibly find alien life and change the very destiny of human civilization for that sort of money. That's it's an absurd amount of money, like a sickening amount of money. The amount of good, not just science and space, which I'm interested in, but the amount of good you could do with that. Imagine how many sort of dialysis machines you could buy for hospitals or something.
You probably cure cancer with that, to be fair.
Yeah, the amount of research, if you gave that money to a cancer research organization. But no, we're left with this pile of bologna sausage, as culture says. Yeah, it was the pits. It really was the worst on so many levels. Just the amount of money. If this film cost 50 million, that would be grotesque to me. Yeah, so it's just a ridiculous amount of money.
It's only good that they're losing so much then, isn't it, really? Comical. You know what's annoying about that, though? No one's going to get fired. No one's going to get their sort of comeuppance for it. No one gets held accountable. It's such a weird... The Hollywood system is so bizarre. No one gets held accountable for anything that happens. Super odd. Super, super odd. Very frustrating. I do wonder why that is. Like, why is it the case that no one gets held accountable for these things? Is it just simply because, you know, if they were to be held accountable, would it? Well, I guess it's an admission of defeat, isn't it? An admission you failed. Dear oh dear. Dear oh dear. Never mind. Still funny though. Cool. Let's we've got nothing new about this. I don't think we do. No, cool. Let's shuffle on from this.